The opinions expressed on the following audio program are solely those of the host and the guests. Burner Podcast is an independently produced, not-for-profit show and is not associated with the Burning Man organization or its subsidiaries. The views expressed are not representative of the entire Burning Man community and are presented here for entertainment purposes only. In short, calm the fuck down. It's just a podcast.
All right, it's episode number 63. And it is 39 days till the man burns as of this recording. Anyway, I'm under a little teeny bit under the weather today. Charles, who was a guest on our previous show about ayahuasca, had actually recently posted in the Aya Shakti group about the importance of self-care. He'd been traveling like crazy and coordinating ceremonies for so many people in need, and then he got super sick. And Charles is like the picture of perfect health. His skin glows, his muscle structure is balanced and lean, and makes me question my sexuality a little bit. Anyway, I appreciated his post, but it didn't really like hit me until this week. And I can even kind of feel it in my throat as I'm delivering this monologue. I'm sure you regular listeners are tired of hearing me bitch about all the too many awesome things happening right now in my life. But yeah, it all kind of came to a head in the past couple of weeks. I've been getting sick a little bit more, I've noticed. I had food poisoning the other week, and then just the other day I just crashed. Like ended up leaving the office in the middle of the day and going home and laying on my bed all day and sleeping for like 9 hours. I had basically this fever with like no other symptoms. I wasn't sick. I don't know, body just ached all over. I couldn't focus. I had these sharp pains in my head. And after a good night of sleep, I felt so much better. But yeah, man, stress, it builds up and your body just goes like, dude, seriously? Fuck you. We're going home. Let me share with you the vast field of fucks I give about your deadlines. Like that's very much how it felt. And I came home and I ate a couple of sandwiches from my favorite place to eat when I'm feeling under the weather, Hillcrest Sandwich Company here in San Diego. It's fucking phenomenal. When we're all stressed, our bodies become more susceptible to viruses and illness. We pretty much know that. And, you know, reality is basically, I mean, we're living in this environment, like the world is the environment that I'm referring to, where there are things constantly trying to eat you and kill you somehow. And like we have this theater of safety because we live in a society of like modern knowledge and medicine, and we're not, you know, in the jungle or in the fields anymore with actual lions and tigers. But, you know, we have this theater of safety as living creatures. Basically all we're doing throughout the day is we're deteriorating and we're in a race against death. That's kind of happening pretty much every day. And I don't mean to be a downer, but it's true. That's basically what's happening. Throughout the day, there are things trying to kill you, like bacteria and viruses, and you are fighting them through millennia of evolution, through where your body is today, and through taking care of yourself. But anyway, the point is, take care of yourself. I eat healthy as fuck. I'm active, but I have been slacking on my meditation and taking on way too much. And mind, body, and soul. You gotta pay constant daily attention to all three. And anyway, that's what I'm blabbing on about. And if this subject is of interest to you, I hope it is, because if you're listening to this show, you're probably a person who really does push the limits as far as the kinds of things that you experience and the places that you go. I can tell you that our last show before the burn this year is going to be a big one. It's going to be with the ever so fabulous Sonia Sophia, whom you might have seen leading these massive healing sessions over at Red Lightning on Esplanade every year on Playa. These are big, huge events. She's flying in from Austin in order to share some Playa self-care wisdom with you, our beautiful listeners. So I'm pretty psyched about that episode. Stay tuned to that one. I will tell you what does keep me going, though. Like when I'm crashing and it's you. I know. Wow, yeah, it's so cuddly and sweet. No, it is you though. We're getting more and more messages from people who are sharing their appreciation for what we do and for the show, and that really does fuel this insane drive to keep meeting that deadline on the first and third Wednesdays of each month. Speaking of that, shout out to Dr. Jones from North Carolina. Dr. Jones. He's listened to every single episode of the show. He had listened to every single episode before finally attending his first burn this past year. And then afterwards, he's been listening to the show again continuously. And since he doesn't really have a burner community where he lives, he's able to kind of tune in and feel like he's closer to home. So you, Dr. Jones, is exactly who I do this show for. So for today's episode, let's get into today's thing. For today's show, I will be talking to more crazy people. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. I guess I pretty much do that on every episode. I talk to crazy people because you are all crazy people. At some point, maybe we can start a poll on who our craziest guests might have been. Because I guess now that I think about it, building a wooden art piece to take to the middle of the desert and set on fire is maybe less completely crazy than, I don't know. How about organizing a full ballet performance complete with costumes and a dance company and a full orchestra in the middle of Black Rock Desert in the middle of the summer? It's kind of crazy, I guess, right? I guess while we're at it, why not coordinate it all with one of the most ambitious art projects on Playa as the backdrop with coordinated lighting effects, because fuck it, right? That's my transition, by the way. That's what you're going to hear about all day today on today's episode. The Playa Players Collective is the topic of focus for today's show. And in just a minute, you will be hearing the voices of creative director Courtney Wise, director of choreography Robert Dekkers, and costume designer and lead dancer Christian Squires. God damn, that's a cool name. The ballet in question is The Rite of Spring. That's all I can tell you about that, really, because I'm not about to lie to you and pretend that I was totally familiar with The Rite of Spring before this episode. But it's okay. It's okay if you're not either, because we're going to be chatting about the history of this extremely important piece of art history. We'll be breaking down all the geekery, if you will, the size of the band, the number of dancers, all that numbery stuff that we like to know about on this show. And that collaboration I mentioned, I don't know if you've heard about the Tree of Tenere. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm pretty sure it's Tree of Tenere. Not the real one in Niger, Africa, but the Burning Man one. It's a gigantic climbable tree, so much detail in this thing. It's just it's going to be absolutely incredible. 60 people can climb on top of it. 60. That's insane. It's enormous. There's 175,000 LED lights inside of 25,000 leaves. It's just nuts. And I'm not going to get into too much about the Tree of Tenere on this episode because we are going to have a full interview scheduled for that one for the next episode of this show. So definitely come back to learn about the Tree of Tenere after you listen to today's amazing story, which is connected to that one. So it's exciting that these connections exist. That will be the next episode of this very show, but the Playa Players will be performing with the tree as the backdrop and the stage of their performance of the Rite of Spring on Playa. So if you're one of those people who wants to look at the things right now as you listen, your web destinations are playaplayers.com and treeoftenere, TENERE.com. And as always, we'll be getting into a bit of our guests' life stories, their experiences with Burning Man, and we're going to get into this great sidetrack about intimacy and touch, which I really enjoyed. Like a grown-up talk about it, though, not just our normal dick jokes, like a real intimate talk about intimacy. Today's episode is entitled, but don't stress, I'm pretty sure there are going to be some dick jokes in here as well at some point. We don't want to get too classy. Fuck you think, this is NPR. Today's episode is entitled the Playa Players Collective. I go by Mr. Arash, even though nobody calls me Mr. Welcome to Burner Podcast.
On the first part of the journey, I was looking at all the life. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There was sand and hills and rain. The first thing I met was the fly with the balls and the sky with no clouds. The heat was hot and the ground was dry, but the air was full of sound. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can't remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no name.
Yeah, anyway, so I've done, like, over the years, I've done a lot of different like done like video stuff and like there's other podcasts that we did. I still do, like, for many years. So what I learned over the years is that the more you can set it up so people don't really feel like they're being recorded, the better the conversations are.
Yeah, I know.
Hence the fun room.
Yeah. We were at Swaro Man, however long ago recently. I don't know, a month ago. It's all blending together at this point. But in that one, when we first started the interview, I had like mics set up and we brought out all these mics and everything because we were planning on doing all this recording out there. And pretty much every time I plan to do that at a festival, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, because Burning Man will happen.
Yeah.
And in that one, like we had the mics and then literally like into like his third sentence, I'm like, put the mic down. Like, let's start this over again.
Yeah.
And just put on the mic right in the middle and it always works out fine. I don't know why we were under the impression that we couldn't do that.
Yeah.
To be more professional.
Has to be like headphones. And...
Yeah. But it's funny, though, it depends on the subjects because the other show that I do is all musicians and rappers and, like, they feel more comfortable when they have the headphones on than a microphone.
Yeah.
That's their, like, home base.
Yeah.
The head, right? Yeah.
That's like...
But I'll also get, like, more embarrassing stories out of you when you don't have headphones on. Which is completely what I'm aiming for the whole time.
Great.
So on that note...
we've already developed a structure of, like, if anyone's saying anything that you're like...
We're like, breathe it in.
You guys can't... The listeners can't see the gestures.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's what you would guess it would be. You can come up with something faster. You can, like, I don't know, do, like, a weird finger up or 3 fingers up as soon as, like, let's see, that looks even dirtier, though.
Let's
Do you have
do
a question?
Oh my God.
Shock you. If you keep talking.
All right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go around the room. Each of you is going to introduce yourselves, and then you're going to say what your role in the Playa Players is. By the way, it's like Playa. That's how I keep reading it. In the Playa Players Collective is. And I want you to tell me what your favorite thing about LA is.
I'm Courtney, and I'm a flutist, and I am the creative director of the Playa Players Collective. And I really enjoy the beaches of LA, and I enjoy that the water is warm enough to swim in because it's freezing cold back in San Francisco.
Yeah, you guys have beaches, but it's like more like the view.
Yeah. It's not like a beach culture. No. Mm-mm.
Yeah, no, I live like 5 minutes from the beach, and I go there all the time and I run by it, but I go in the water like once a year, if that.
I've never.
So I miss the beaches down here.
Yeah.
Is that your radical ritual of the year?
Yeah.
Getting in that cold-ass water. Yeah, that way. Hell no.
I'm like, so cleansed.
That orange hue, like Michael Bay style looking sunsets that we get here in the beaches are like just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's unbeatable. They daydream about that all over the world.
In San Diego, too.
Yeah, we have, less traffic and pollution and all that too. So anyway.
My name is Robert Dekkers. I'm the director of choreography with the Playa Players. I also have a dance company in San Francisco called Post Ballet. And
Post ballet?
Post ballet.
Like
what's
postmodern?
Exactly. Boom!
Okay.
Extra credit, gold stars.
Yay.
Yes.
I got like a C- in that class.
Hey, that's fine. That's fine. You took it. It's good. Grades are irrelevant. Yeah. What I like most about LA, something I love. Well, I love that there are like treats everywhere to be found. Like everywhere you're walking, it's like hot and impressive, and then all of a sudden there's like ice cream stands and coffee shops, and like I think everyone in LA like works hard and they like are down to like reward themselves with a little like snack here and there.
People work real hard.
People work hard here, but you know, like no one wants to admit that they're eating ice cream or anything. It's like, oh, like how many probiotics are you taking today? But then I see these lines at the ice cream shop, and I'm like, I don't think that's not probiotic at all. So, you know, everyone knows how to have a little fun here.
There's that ice cream cookie shop. Is it by UCLA? That's like famous. It's got a giant line.
Pizookies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that place is phenomenal.
Anyway, the Pizookie is like so good. And
Yeah.
I went to school at USC, and right next to USC there's a 21 Choices, which is like the best flavors of yogurt. Like
Maybe it was USC, I'm guessing.
so good.
This is by UCLA, the one that we just talked about?
Pizookies by UCLA.
Shout out to Pizookies. All right.
Yeah. It's at BJ's, that's what it is.
BJ's?
Mm-hmm.
Like the
BJ's
pizza
brewery.
place?
Yeah, it's like a brewery pizza place, but that's where the Pizookie comes from.
Yeah. That's true. Okay.
My name's Christian Squires, or on the Playa Instigator.
You have a name that cool, and you had to have a Playa name.
You know, I just get a lot of cool.
It's not even fair.
My role...
Would you like chocolate ice cream on top of your every other flavor ice cream? Yeah, sure.
I like to just do everything all at once. You know, well...
Burning Man's a good place for that.
Yeah. So I'm one of the lead dancers, and I'm Robert's husband and dancer at Post Ballet and his company, and also I'm doing the costumes for the Rite of Spring.
Yeah.
Like you said, he likes to pile it all on.
Just all the
one
things.
scoop of everything.
Giant orgy dome of responsibility.
That's a nice way of looking at it. It makes it seem a little
together.
Yes, into the orgy dome yet. Okay.
Oh my god, let's team up all of us at the same time and do everything.
Yes.
Great.
Go.
Okay, so what I love about LA, my first introduction to LA was one of our good friends, Rachel, and we lived in Portland together, and she just always wore whatever she wanted. She just felt, and it didn't matter. And could be practically nothing, like sexy, sleazy, beautiful, romantic, like all the things. And she always looked confident. And so when I think about LA, I think about people not being afraid to show all sides of themselves, or to choose a side of themselves that they want to portray. And that's what I really like about the Playa as well, is you can really decide something and be like, this is what I'm going to portray today, or this side of me is who I want to be today, or this whole week. And the
world is a stage.
Yeah. And so I think I just love that about LA.
Yeah. No, that's a really good observation. LA does fabulous really fucking well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love fabulous.
Yeah. No,
and magical. Fabulous and magical.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say the Playa does magic better if I had to give it a linear grade.
Yeah, for sure.
But with San Diego, we definitely don't do fabulous very well. It's just... Let's put on flip-flops.
San Francisco, we don't do fabulous well either.
We got some magic, but it's true. Yeah. There's not as much fabulous in SF.
Too busy arguing over social justice.
Yeah,
we will. There's pocket. There's communities of fabulous everywhere.
Yeah.
But we do yoga well.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, no.
We do yoga.
San Diego, we do fitness and yoga really well. We're really good at wearing Lululemon everywhere we go.
Definitely San Francisco.
LA though, people will very much roll out of bed and look like they're ready to walk onto a movie set.
Yeah,
which I can see how that can get intimidating.
Well, just for perspective, can we describe what Christian is wearing?
Yes, please.
It's amazing.
Do y'all want to describe it as an outsider? What was that?
As a person not inside my body.
Yeah.
I think that the base layer is a leopard cheetah print of electric blues. Pinks and oranges, very shiny.
Onesie
unitard. Yeah.
It's reflective under black light.
Oh, extra credit. Mm-hmm. Got some flash tats on the face. Mm-hmm. Sort of a colorful headband.
Kind of warrior style flash tat.
Warrior princess. Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say princess.
This is being described from the outside.
Right,
okay?
sure. Yeah, I'm going to be quiet. Uh-huh.
Also a jean jacket denim vest. It's just giving me some like 80s vibes here.
Mm-hmm.
And a necklace. I don't know how to describe this.
Oh, it was made and given to me.
Oh.
A gifted metal necklace.
Mm-hmm. A leather. Wait, I got naked as I walked in. I wanted to get more comfortable, so I started taking off all the things.
Yeah. By all means.
What was this? A leather side satchel leg holster.
Naturally.
And some like colorful cotton candy Adidas high tops.
I love it.
Done.
Yeah. Let's just say he's not getting hit by a car.
The reflection is real.
Hard to miss. Real hard to miss.
Yeah. No, that I just want to point out how much of an artist conversation this is because you started the description with base layer.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm looking at it. Everything's a costume design, you know.
Everything is an art project. Who was it? I was actually I don't remember who it was that was saying this. I was reading their quote recently. They were saying like, what if you look at your own life as an art project and like the person that you're building is this character that you're building and different ways that you're building and making yourself better and stronger are like paints and brushes and
like how do you like I was saying like how do you want to curate yourself,
right?
Or you know or conduct, you know, like conduct yourself.
Do we want to describe anybody else's outfits?
I'm pretty normal.
I think everyone in the world is normal compared to Christian.
I don't know. I'm loving your mesh. I'm
getting a little mesh overlay.
Mm-hmm. Robert does black really well.
Yeah.
Dark colors.
Black and gray.
And gray.
But
that smile is brings the black. It's great. Yeah,
He also has flash tattoos.
Yeah, also silver flash tats.
I want to say like, if there was a ninja tribe within cowboy culture, that's like somewhere where you're at.
Yeah.
Yes.
That might be because I'm sitting on this lovely saddle seat right
Yeah.
here.
but ninja for sure. The hair, you always give it a nice what was his man bun? Except
call it a man bun.
Yeah.
Full throttle.
And also,
looks fucking fabulous.
Yeah, everyone looks amazing. Everybody looks great.
You guys are actually like getting some work done while you're here, though. Like you've been shopping.
Yes. Well, on the drive down, we've talked about all the things that we need to accomplish, and we talked
San Francisco.
From San Francisco.
We put together a whole timeline of the Rite of Spring, including time signatures for when we want the Tree of Tenere to light up, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
When the different performers come in, all different kinds of cues and ideas and
the whole backstory.
And we put the whole backstory all in writing. We're creating a whole world with this Rite of Spring.
Yeah.
It's a piece for those familiar with Rite of Spring. It was premiered in 1913 in Paris, and so it's this iconic classical work with a score by Igor Stravinsky, and it's got this sort of history to it. It was this pagan ritual that caused riots in the streets after it was performed. It was just very avant-garde and just out of the box at that time. And even still, it kind of inspired. People do new Rite of Spring productions all the time. It's one of the most timeless pieces. Yeah. Because, even 100 years later, it still has that ritualistic primal instinct, passion behind it that makes it fresh every time you look at it and come at it with a different perspective.
So for those of us who are not as cultured as you find three people, like Romeo and Juliet, where we see different interpretations
exactly.
of it.
Exactly.
Yeah. What is it about it that makes it so timeless? You were just starting to kind of touch on that, but what do you think it is that connects to audiences that, I don't know, makes it so universal?
Well, I would say with the music, it's so cool because it's very primal and a lot of it is really pounding, and so it gets you into this. It's jarring and it kind of ropes you in. It's hot. You can't look away. You can't turn away from it. And it just has this awesome pounding that you want to almost get up and rock and roll to.
Yeah. We're all fans of a really good pounding.
Yeah.
So the goddamn right. This is fucking Burning Man.
Come on, shit.
We will talk about a good pounding on an episode about ballet.
Hello.
Yeah.
And there is this kind of like not. I mean, there's drum beats and like, but there is this. I think that like beat that happens throughout it is there's just like it's kind of like reminiscent, like I don't know, the heartbeat or like this like yeah.
Is there? What would you say is like an example of where the Rite of Spring could most? I don't know, something that was seen in like popular culture, famous movie.
Fantasia.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
It's in Fantasia.
Oh, yeah.
It's the part where
the evolution.
Evolution into dinosaurs.
Yeah. A lot of people, that's like either their first introduction to it or their only introduction to it. But if you remember that scene, like all the little boys always remember the dinosaurs because they're all into dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Is there anything else in it? I don't remember.
I got scared. I used to turn it off either at that point or at the end of Fantasia when they got to Night on Ball Mountain.
The devil.
The big devil.
My brother hated that thing.
That freaked me out. So I was not into it as a kid, but now I'm into it.
It is interesting how that has colored the first time I did Rite of Spring was at like Oregon Ballet Theater, and when the sounds happen, like I immediately think of the rocks coming out of the earth. Like it's definitely like
stuck with you.
Yeah. Visually,
totally.
For sure.
Well, I think that what I love about this piece of music and then the ballets that have been done to it is everyone kind of finds their own interpretation of like this natural primal instinct. And like, I think it's interesting that you both keep using, I mean, we all keep using that word primal, and it's like what I've been really excited about as we're developing our own interpretation of this story is like re-envisioning how maybe like a different sentient being might have come to life in a different world in a different time, and kind of just picturing the backstory of their evolution, of how they got to that place and what their sort of rituals might be, and their mating rituals and their ways of connecting with each other and consuming. And I think that like it's so great because it's sort of this like canvas that points you in the direction of that, but it leaves the specifics open, which I think is why it's worked so well for so many interpretations of this, and why even coming to this, 100 years later, I'm able to find new ideas within the context of this framework that was put out, back in 1913.
Like everything that you're describing, I mean, with the exception of like the exact things, like the date 1913, to me, it's a lot of the same kind of ways that I described like techno. Because it's connected to like a very primal movement. It's very tribal. Yeah. It's universal. Totally. And it's something that you can interpret in so many different cultures. And I think it's not necessarily just even techno, but just like any kind of electronic dance music where you have a repetitive beat. And it's not a whole lot different than what our ancestors did, building a fire in the middle of the village and everybody getting into the same rhythm and the same heartbeat. So, I mean, ultimately, I think with the most universal art, what we're looking for is a way that it brings us to that same place.
Absolutely. I think that's, to me, what makes me most excited about art, whether it's music, visual art, dance, performing art, whatever, is that ability to kind of cross-cultural boundaries. So two people can speak different languages, can come from different, places and different, frames of mind, and look at something and have completely unique experiences, but can find a way to relate to one another on it. And I think that that to me is the role of art in our society, is like bridging gaps between people who don't speak the same language, whether it be the actual like linguistics or just like frame of mind worldview. And so that, again, was sort of, as we've been developing the concept for our Rite of Spring, it's been really fun to kind of look at how different animals mate and have social interactions with one another, and sort of pulling from a bunch of different, very biological sources of inspiration.
And have potential like rituals turn into like have affected evolution.
Yeah,
like if you think about like there's certain kinds of birds that are really attracted to blue, and so they grab a bunch of blue and they put it in their nest, and then the women, whoever has the most blue, and you would call that a ritual. I mean, like going and finding something and bringing it back. Like
habits become rituals. Yeah, I think. Well, and I think that's, I mean, like if you look at like evolution, right? You've got like survival and this natural selection of like who can survive in the environment, and then the sexual selection, or like the two places. And I think that's something that we're interested in with this, is like, okay, we've got this natural environment that is Burning Man around this amazing tree of Teneré, and we're kind of using that as like the source of our story, and like this is the world that this being lives in, and then kind of creating this idea of how the sexual selection may happen and propagate this species, and
pulling from different real stories, like the Grenion?
Grenion, not a Funyun.
So someone was telling me about this Grenion, and it's fish that lives in Southern California, and on the full moon it like swims up to the shore, male and female, and like it ejects its sperm and its eggs, and then they all die. Huh. And then the next like full moon or the next cycle, whatever, the fish are born and they swim back out to sea.
Yeah.
So like that is a evolution, like
orgasm.
You know, like that, like.
But actually, there's a lot of animals that die after reproducing.
Yeah.
And so something that we've been playing with our Rite of Spring is kind of creating a matriarchal society where the women are the ones who sort of run the show, and we're planning on the men being actually, in a way, like the Grunions, that once they've reproduced, they die, and their decomposed bodies makes the soil grow rich for the continued growth of our tree of Teneré. And so each cycle, the men grow in the marshes and then come up for this sort of rite of spring, and I just
and it's interesting because like the original story, it's always been a female has been the one that has been sacrificed.
So a bit of context on it. So the original rite of spring is a very patriarchal society where the women are the virgins, and then there's the chosen one who is sacrificed, and that's what allows this sort of community, this society to continue. It's one of their like rites, and so we just started with that as just like, okay, let's flip it and just see how that affects things. And then from there, we've just sort of taken our own, turns and twists in it, and just sort of kind of created even more than just a true mirror image of how our society is, sort of just a fictitious, like, what if this whole, and we decided that the species has like evolved from the tiger slug, which
have you seen that
video? Have you seen how tiger?
Oh my God.
Have you seen how tiger
Look
slugs
on YouTube.
tiger slug sex.
Tiger slug sex. It's a tiger or a slug?
Tiger slug.
It's a slug.
It's a slug.
Okay, it's a slug. Sorry,
but it's called tiger slug.
Okay.
Tiger slug is this type of slug, but they basically like hang off of a
they
tree
inject this mucus, and then they like
both of their penises come out, and they like spin around and like create this like iridescent.
And
cocoon.
as they're spinning, it looks like this flower that starts to blossom, and they're morphing
together.
together.
Both of their penises.
So they both.
Everyone's got everything.
They have everything,
as it should be.
Yeah.
And then
great.
one chooses once they have sex, maybe their penis falls off. I don't remember what, and then you choose at one point, like, or like. So it's like...
So they have a whole ritual.
It's a whole thing.
Well, and that's just,
who has to be the top and the bottom.
Yeah, it's just like...
me. No. Tiger slugs arguing over who's going to be the top tonight,
Well, I think it's like so many
TV
people,
show.
when you talk about sexuality, it's like, well, like if you look at nature, it's like, no, if you look at nature, like there is so many variations.
Infinite forms of reproduction. And I think that that's something that we're kind of interested in, like, creatively, is sort of like just shining a light on like, okay, yes, this is how our society has decided that we connect with each other and reproduce, and this is our ritual, but then like, what if it was this way? And then it just sort of opens up the what if game of like, why do we need to make so many like constraints on ourselves and our world in general?
I understand now why this was probably considered smut when it was originally came out.
Pagan smut.
Well, also, like, the thing that was really, really jarring was the dance movements, because this is, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know.
No, you've got your ballet slippers on.
You got it, yeah.
But it was really the first time that ballet turned contemporary, and that like stomping was involved in ballet. And this premiered in Paris at the Champs-Élysées. And in France, there's this rich history of ballet, and like Louis XIV, right? The Sun King was obsessed with dance and obsessed with ballet, and just really instilled this love of dance and ballet in the French people. And that lasted for all the way through 1913. And then people were offended. People were straight up offended to see a ballet that had stomping in it and that had like just all these lurching, weird movements. They weren't used to seeing that, and
it was coming from the Romantic period. Was that the Romantic period around that time?
In comparison with everything else that was being made at that time, it was very provocative. You know, you've got even just the shortening of women's skirts at that time, going from
because Romantic period skirts
up until to like more classical tutus, where you saw the upper thigh, was like a very like big shift in costuming. And so for these, when you see pictures of like Diaghilev's like company and the way that they were dressed, even, it's just, I mean, the whole thing from the music to the costuming to the movement was totally just kind of,
it was rock
like
and roll.
a right turn. Yeah. They were rocking it out. They probably should have premiered it at Burning Man. Yeah. we got you guys, don't worry.
So I mean, that's fascinating. There's I was watching NWA's acceptance speech of at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and Ice Cube is doing all the talking, and he's describing, you know, like that rock and roll, like it's not a style of music, it's about this, it's a movement that happens culturally every so often that breaks a lot of the old rules. It's a really good, you should guys, listeners should look it up on YouTube. It was beautifully said. But he was saying that that's where it made sense why NWA being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So a lot of what you're describing here is the same kind of thing. People freaking out, Elvis's hips gyrating, everybody, and people are getting pregnant just looking at him on TV. You know, horrible. Question is, how did it get like approved to get released at that level in front of that many people?
Well, I think, I mean, you know, like it premiered on the Ballet Russe, and it was, is that right? Ballet Russe or Ballet Monte Carlo?
No, Ballet Russe.
Ballet Russe. Okay, good. Check.
Great.
Let me not. I'm a ballet dancer.
But it also Ballet Russe did Monte Carlo. Okay, right.
Yeah,
Ballet Russe. Yeah.
So it was a very like well-known, reputable company, and I think they had done some, in comparison, like contemporary and modern works in comparison with what a lot
and didn't
of ballet
Nijinsky do a lot of like classical? I mean, like
right, and they were classical performers. I mean, it's a classical ballet company, and so I think that like having that platform and being like, oh yes, we're part of this, you know, classical idiom, and then being able to kind of sneak it in. I mean, I would actually be really curious how specifically they got it past everyone to like get to the show. But
they shut it down afterward, didn't they? They had like the premiere, and then I think they didn't have any
shut down.
Yeah, and then it was a while before they brought it back because everybody said, like, the French press was saying, oh, it's a flop, it's awful, and there's like press even in the United States was saying, oh, this is, you know, terrible, they had to shut it down and stuff, and then it turned out to be like the biggest orchestral masterwork of the 20th century.
It's amazing. Do you guys have collectively or individually a favorite interpretation of the Rite of Spring?
I have what I would say my favorite interpretation is by a choreographer named Pina Bausch. She has, I mean, aside from obviously Nijinsky's original version, kind of created what I think is sort of the like gold standard of Rite of Spring. The whole stage is filled with sand, and it's
dirt. It's like dirt, like thick, brown dirt. Yeah.
Yes, you're right. More dirt than sand. And it's just so masterfully choreographed. I mean, she was, you know, a brilliant choreographer, and the way that she creates this society and their interactions, and the tension that she's able to build with the movement and the arrangement of the artists on stage is masterful. So I always, you know, secretly, of course, wanted to make my own Rite of Spring, but never really felt like I had anything to contribute to the conversation beyond what's already been done so well. So then when Courtney asked me about being a part of this Rite of Spring at Burning Man, I was like, well, people have done a lot of Rite of Spring, but no one's done it at Burning Man yet. Yeah. So I felt like I could justify being a part of it and expend it. And it's been really fun. You know, I usually do a lot of work with all new scores, new sets, everything new, and not really playing with like classical works. So this is kind of one of the first times I've used, even though I'm very familiar with classical ballet, I was a ballet dancer, and classical music. I grew up with playing the cello, and so I kind of have that background, but I'm always really interested in what's new, what can we do that hasn't been done before. But it's been really fun to come back to this existing work and sort of just re-envision how, using this context and these constraints, how I can kind of create something again new.
Yeah. Well, and also like just the setting of being at Burning Man in the dust, and then now being under this tree, and then also just like this year's themes radical ritual and like and going out as a performer, like, and just as a human, really, like going to the desert and being a part of, like, you know, a lot of us are part of a camp, like I'm part of Glamcox, and having that tribe has been so, like, 2 years ago, Robert and I got married at the camp. We did a performance with Glamcox, and they're going to be, like, that's my tribe. And so we'll be performing together. And as an artist, like, what you can, like, go through out there is something I'm really excited and interested in doing something, like, kind of this serious of a role out there, because I'm, like, things are more, I feel like, more splayed and open, and we've performed out there before, but nothing as set as this will be, or like as kind of emotional as this could be.
That's an interesting point, because I think it's true. Like when you're at the burn, right, you're just so kind of exposed. You just, all your like guards go down. All the masks get peeled off, kind of. So I think that, like, seeing everyone in that state of mind and then performing this, like, primal, visceral work, that's going to bring out some really interesting. Yeah, you're gonna, I can't wait to see what experience you go through that night. That's gonna be so awesome.
The two ladies that will be the, like, head of these two warring tribes. Like, they're both my close friends, and I just did this massive project with Robert Firebird, and we were lovers and friends, and right now we're going, I mean, it's so, like, having that kind of relationship with your performers is just, and then my family and my tribe and my husband, and, like, it's gonna be intense.
Yeah, that's quite the understatement.
Shit.
Courtney, how old were you when you discovered ballet?
Oh, so, well, ballet is not really my thing, but
well, we love you anyway.
Thank you, sweetie. And I actually haven't done very much work with ballet, to be honest. I started playing flute when I was 9 years old, and I found that I was kind of good at it. I started taking lessons, and my parents are both musicians, but not professionally, and so music has just always been everywhere. And then in high school, it just became my identity. I was doing a lot of performing, a lot of competitions, and, heavily involved with orchestra and stuff, and then got my degrees in it. And then actually the first ballet that I performed in would be after grad school. I've done a lot of operas and I've done a lot of symphonies, but I haven't been very involved in ballet. But
So it was the sound that got you into it first.
Yeah, definitely. And I knew that I had this vision, actually, coming back from Burning Man this past year. And I just imagined dancers on the man at first, like just dancing kind of in the wind, in the dust. And I was like, oh, well, what would they be dancing? Obviously, Rite of Spring. Like, that just popped in. Like,
love it.
Of course, at Burning Man, they would be dancing Rite of Spring. So
that's funny. My first thought was techno, but all right.
I'm thinking, like, ballet dancers with beautiful streaming things around them. But and then I started thinking, well, they need an orchestra. We need an orchestra. And, it just kind of, like, naturally kind of went from one idea to the next, and, like, oh, well, maybe I should make an art car that would be a stage.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I haven't worked with dancers that much before, and it was just kind of a very, very lucky, fortuitous chance that I got connected with Robert. I was playing in a ballet this past December. I do a little Nutcracker gig every year, and it's just like a cute shortened version of the Nutcracker for the kids. And I realized, like, oh, I'm surrounded by dancers. If I actually wanted to do this Burning Man thing, like, I should talk to these dancers. So I saw these dancers were, like, on their break or whatever, and I was like, hey guys, like, I have this kind of idea about Rite of Spring at Burning Man. Like, do any of you, like, know anything about that? Would you want to be involved? And the director happened to be there, and he was like, oh, I know tons of burners. Let's talk later. And we started talking. He's like, this is a great idea. I love this, and I think I would want to be involved. but he wasn't a burner. And so he had a pretty good grip about what Burning Man was.
It's San Francisco, right?
Yeah. It's like Burner Central.
Yeah. Like, you actually meet people out there who don't know what Burning Man is?
No.
Like, what are you, a fucking alien?
There's a couple.
But he had a lot of ideas that, because he wasn't a burner, like, he was like, well, we have to pay all the dancers. And I was like, no, we can't pay all the dancers. And he's like, well, you know, these are, if we're going to get professional dancers, they're going to need their own trailer and yada yada. And I was like, no, you don't get it.
No.
So unfortunately that collaboration didn't work out, mostly because of his schedule didn't allow for it. But I got connected with Robert, and I was like, oh, perfect, he's already a burner. He got married at Burning Man. Like, he's absolutely the perfect guy to do it. And I just messaged him very tentatively via Facebook, being like, hey, this is my little idea.
It was so great because I teach an open class in the city, and my accompanist actually he was like, hey, are you interested in dancing in a Rite of Spring at Burning Man? My friend is putting something together. And I was like, well, yeah, I would dance in it, but who's choreographing it? I was like, and he's like, oh, I don't know. And so I like, you know, Courtney wrote me, I gave him my email address, and you're like, oh, do you want to like dance or maybe and I was like, can I choreograph it? And you're like, I think you must have looked me up or something. And then it's like, and it really was just so like, I really had in my mind that I wanted to create, I mean, this year's theme, Radical Ritual, I knew I wanted to, I mean, dance is a radical ritual, and like, I knew I wanted to bring something just to like really share with everyone. I do this choreography thing, and I want to be able to bring that to everyone at the Burn and just gift it and have an experience. And so I was brainstorming ways of doing that, and nothing was really sticking in my head. And then when this came along, it was just like so serendipitous.
Yeah.
Like,
how long have you guys known each other?
Since
6 months?
January, something like that.
Yeah. When you started working on this?
Yeah.
We hadn't met before. And
no, it was so exciting because I sent him the message, I feel like 10 p.m. one night, and then the next morning there was a message back waiting for me on Facebook, like, yeah, I'm very interested in this. And then like an hour later he was like, I'm really interested.
I'm sure you called me up and was like, Christian, sure. Do you want to? And like, yeah,
I know, it's true. I like was like, I was into it, and then I like started thinking, and then of course like once my brain starts going and I start like picturing it and then I was like, I remember just like coming back to the computer, like, no, I really want to do this. Can I let's talk right now? Like, I got so excited.
We had to talk on the phone that afternoon. And we're like, okay, we're doing it. We're absolutely doing it.
You have to be a certain kind of crazy to be okay. Like, I mean, with the musicians, with the instruments and the dust, and then also like dance, like it is true, like saying, oh, you need this, we need this, but like, meaning when you were talking to the first choreographer, like, oh, they're going to need professional dancers. Like, we are all like, there's a handful of us that are professional dancers, and like we know, but it's like, this is the desert. Like that's actually what's exciting about doing it at Burning Man, is that like you just kind of got a deal. You just gotta, like, you're in the setting, of course, and that's what will also make it exciting. Like doing this in the dust with the wind, and I mean,
all the unknown variables will.
And that's something that we will be telling.
We can't choreograph. We can't choreograph how the sun's going to set and the wind will blow
and the dust storms, and I mean, who knows?
But
Burning Man filters, a certain kind of tribe in and out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier. People usually hear these stories about these ridiculous projects that people are doing, and the first thought their minds go through is how difficult it's going to be. But what I keep finding is like, it's not that good. But I've almost found that in a lot of ways it's easier because it really does filter out a lot of people from these teams. Like we all work in many different places outside of Burning Man, obviously, on projects and art and creative stuff. And it filters out a lot of the highest maintenance people immediately.
There's no room in this performance for high maintenance people or people who are like scared of the dust or not willing to. No princesses here.
And there will be fire, and might like.
We can be princesses too. Right?
Yeah.
But I think
we're going to reappropriate princesses.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I want to do. Like, let's redefine.
Let's bring it back.
Well, I think like what's super fun about this project too is that everyone, from the musicians to the dancers to the directors to the conductor, I mean, everyone's gifting their time and their talents. And I think that there are performances at Burning Man, but a lot of those performers end up getting paid. A lot of the more professional, high-end shows. And so for us to kind of be bringing something that I think is going to really, be super professional and awesome, but also we're all doing it because we love it and we want to like share ourselves and our artistry with the Burning Man community. And I think that just adds its own layer of magic to it. It's just that we're all just kind of coming into it with like no expectations and just like an openness to like experience something new
and to be creative. But I also do think that this is a subject that needs to be addressed, I think, with like Burning Man as a whole. Like Burning Man is amazing with the funding that you can apply for artwork, for like, and the thing is like dance and music, like this is art, like this is, and like I think that Burning Man as an organization needs to start opening up their funding to projects like this, like to like, yes, when you see the structures and all the beautiful things out there, like that's why you go, but to be able to like have this kind of potential like show and artwork out there, it would be really nice to feel more supported in that way.
Yeah, people would be less reluctant, I think, to put on big performances like this if there was more financial support. And like I don't expect to be paid, and probably our performers would still do it for free. But like,
I mean, like getting
for
costumes,
things like
and
costumes and like equipment that we need, like there are costs involved. So like we're doing an Indiegogo fundraiser, and it's going really, really well. We're like 62% of our goal, I think.
Yeah. So excuse my ignorance. So so Burning Man doesn't fund live performances?
No, they do structural.
No performance.
Yeah, structural art.
They for structural.
Yeah.
Do you have an explanation for why that is?
I've made up things, but I don't know. We have no. I don't.
Yeah, I'm not sure what their criteria is. That's what just when we reached out about applying for a grant. I think that they mentioned that they don't fund performance art. That's okay.
Because I feel like I mean, this is a fascinating subject. I'd love to explore it with them some more because I imagine. Because with structural, it's more measurable.
Right.
And say, like, this is where it's going.
Right. And that's...
Whereas with performance, like, I mean, I imagine you're going to get, like, some, ultra hippie artist from somewhere that's going to come out and say, I shit on a stick and performance art, who knows, like, what rabbit hole that might go down. So I wonder if that is a contributing factor.
Yeah, I'd be curious what their thought process is on it. But regardless, I think we just decided, what?
Oh, no, it doesn't happen. Oh, yeah.
It's been really cool. I mean, so many people have been not only donating through the Indiegogo campaign, which if you're interested, you can go to playaplayers.com. There's a link there. You can see a video with Courtney and myself and all of the collaborators talking about the work, and you can help us in that way. But also people just donating used instruments, people just coming through in so many various ways. People who aren't performers but say like just writing all the time, like, hey, how can we get involved? How can we help? And I think that like the sense of community that's building around this project is really cool. It's
that's definitely always the thing that everybody who ever works on anything on a project, it's the community that builds around it is the ultimate payoff.
The Burning Man community is amazing and so helpful and so welcoming. And like just every need that we have someone has come forward and said like, hey, can I help you with this? And it's just amazing. Like the Glam Cocks are going to be a lot of our dancers, and this group called Playa Tune, who I just again fortuitously got connected with because our clarinetist Jeannie was like on a forum with this guy, and he kept talking about music at Burning Man and like instruments at Burning Man, and she's like, do you know this Leo guy? And I was like, no, I've never heard of him. But when we connected, he's like, hey, so I'm running this Burning Man camp that is bringing used instruments to the desert just to create like a canvas for performance. And what you guys are doing is really cool. And if you want to borrow some of our instruments, like, because your musicians don't want to bring their good instruments, like, we'll help you and like give us a list of instruments to hunt down, and like we'll find them. So like they've come forward, it's just so many. Robot Heart, who signed on to be our sound bus, have been fantastic. Just so many people helping out and checking in and seeing like, what can I do? How can we promote this? How can we help?
So speaking of community, when was all your first burns?
Well, my first burn was 2012. 12? Yes. 13.
Oh.
Ooh.
When the world didn't end.
When the world, that time that the world didn't quite end, but almost did.
Yeah.
No,
12, because I was
you went
13.
and then we got married 14.
Yeah.
And then we went again 15.
15,
And then,
yeah.
oh my gosh.
So this will be our fourth burn.
I don't know what time it is, but I'm just kidding. Well, my first burn, a dear friend of Christian and I, named Jan Berletti, who we love with all of our hearts.
Which is also going to be
Who is going to be
opening-
our matriarch divine in this show. So Jan had always wanted to go to Burning Man, and she decided for her 60th birthday she was going to go to Burning Man for the first time. And so Christian was unfortunately performing with a company that he couldn't get out of the contract with, but I managed to find the time, and together with a few fire spinners. So Jan has picked up spinning fire in the last 5 or so years, and is very talented. And so
fire whip,
and now she's got the fire whip, and that's just trouble. That's just trouble. Do not give that woman a whip.
So you always you knew about Burning Man?
Yeah,
but
we
just
knew
the opportunity hadn't come up.
Yeah, I think
I introduced it to Robert because I was really.
Yeah, I was that one person in San Francisco that didn't know about it. Apparently,
you're but I really wanted to go.
It's so funny.
For a
Christian
long
had
time.
been desiring to go for so long,
And then you get to go.
and I was the
Yeah.
one that got to go. I was like, bye.
I was like, oh, yeah.
That was, you said, 2012-ish?
Yeah.
I think it was 2013.
13.
And then you went in 2014. I couldn't go.
So are you originally from San Francisco?
From Atlanta originally.
Okay.
But
When did you end up in San Francisco?
2008.
Okay.
Yeah.
What took you out there?
I got a job with ODC Dance, so
Okay.
I moved there for work. And
From the South.
from the South.
Yeah.
So
Yourself?
South Carolina.
Oh, wow.
there you go.
And I was living in Oregon, and then I met Robert through a friend, and then I moved down here to be with Robert.
Put a ring on it. Hey.
Yeah.
When was your first birthday?
Yeah, where were you
Yeah.
in 2012?
It wasn't 2012. It was 2015. So I did 2015 and 2016, Carnival of Mirrors. And I went out with a group, my camp called Teddies on Teddies. It was our first year. And my friend Zach brought me. He recorded my album. I have a flute and guitar duo, and we made an album. And he was saying oh, I'm not going to get the editing done until for a couple weeks because I'm going to be going to Burning Man. And I was like, oh, Burning Man. And I'd heard a lot about Burning Man, but what had really intrigued me was because a couple of years before that, a friend of my now ex-boyfriend had told me about Burning Man. He said that he and his girlfriend went every year and that it was a gifting economy and that there's no money. And I was like, okay, so you trade, right? So if I run out of toilet paper, I'll trade sunscreen or something. He's like, no. You're a musician. You could go out there and you could play music and that would be a gift and people would love it. And that was mind-blowing to me because
we've all had that conversation.
Yeah.
Aha moment.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. And also as a classical musician, sometimes we don't feel that valued.
Right.
Because people don't even come to our concerts. So to be told that I could go out and play music and people would see it as a gift and people would love it and hug me and give me things. It's wow, that's crazy.
Where are you from originally?
I'm a Bay Area girl.
Okay. So you were born and raised up there.
Yeah.
So you've been familiar with Burning Man longer?
Actually, not that long. So, I guess I first heard about it over a radio show that they were talking about it, and then I really didn't know very many burners. One of my friends actually went, but didn't really talk about it very much.
Yeah. A lot of people didn't really talk about it too much in the earlier days.
I bet.
Yeah. Now it's becoming more common, but it used to be that immediately you're going to get lumped into this whole now it's big enough where. I imagine that kind of stuff is still happening in South Carolina.
I when I moved, I had a view of burners, and I was like, why do you? Because wait, have you finished your?
That's just the one little thing that I would add to that is just that that what really, really stuck with me, other than just the gifting economy, was that this friend Nick said, I want you guys to go so much that I will loan you $1,000 because we were like, oh, we don't have the money for that right now. And he was like, I'll loan you $1,000 to do it, and you don't have to pay me back until you have the money, like just no interest, whatever. And that like left a huge impression on me, you know, that he would give us that much money just so that we could experience this. And of course we said no. So unfortunately I didn't get to go then, but then a couple years later I met Zach, and he decided to build his own theme camp after his first year. He got the like first year-itis or whatever, where like, you know, like, yeah, I'm gonna build my own theme camp. And yeah, so
immediately made me cringe.
I know, I just got tired.
It sounds like so much work.
He's tired too.
I bet.
But yeah, I loved it. Fell in love with it. So stayed.
May I ask? You don't have to get into like details. How do you pay rent? Is there a career path, or is music it?
Yeah, music's it.
Okay.
I perform and I teach. So teaching is kind of my bread and butter. And I have a lot of great students. But like during the summer, it's pretty thin. You know, everyone's on summer break. They're on holiday, but that gives me extra time to work on Playa Players stuff. Right now, I'm not making a whole lot of money, but I'm making magic happen. So it's totally worth it.
Yeah, no, 'cause especially I think like with this what you were describing earlier about the kind of art that you create being something that doesn't get promoted much. I mean, that's generally a thing that, you know, most artists deal with to some extent. So the simple fact that I think like everybody sitting in this room is making a living actually creating art is, you know, kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it's possible. And then that's another kind of thing that I'm really excited about with this project is that people who aren't really exposed to classical music, or people who didn't grow up with it like I did, are going to hear Rite of Spring, maybe even for the first time, on the playa, underneath this crazy tree.
Yeah, we need to talk about the tree of Tenerife. Oh my gosh, we gotta give them a shout out.
But in this setting, I think it's going to be a really great way to engage people and to get them interested in classical music. And I think classical music right now is struggling largely because it hasn't been flexible, and people aren't performing outside of the concert hall.
Classical
Is
ballet.
this because, and I have
classical ballet too.
It's the culture of it that's not flexible, right?
Right.
The music, it's
Exactly.
It's like when people attack science, and they're like, the problem isn't science, the problem is academia.
Yeah,
It's the rigid structure. The problem is not spirituality, it's the religious dogma. You know?
Right. And it's the way that people engage with classical music is that, you know, you just go to a concert hall, sit down, and watch. Yeah. And that's kind of boring. Yeah. Like, I will admit it, as a classical performer, like, I will fall asleep sometimes during classical performances.
You just scrounge around your seats, and you gotta dress up a little bit more.
Well, the ritual behind, I mean, I've been thinking about rituals so much. Like, I mean, like, for the past year or two, like, the ritual behind going to the ballet. Like, it could either, if you make it something, it could be amazing, or it feels stifling.
Yeah.
Like I love Jan's ritual. Like, she's like, okay, we're gonna go, and then we're gonna dress up. I'm gonna get my heels out. We're gonna go have food below the opera house, and then like, you know, and then you like go in, and I love just like being at the ballet, and
I was just gonna say to your point is like, thinking about the like inflexibility of these art forms, and I've thought about this a lot lately with classical ballet, because it is so even though most artists that I know, dancers, are very open-minded, progressive people, the art form itself has a lot of like deeply rooted like gender stereotypes and sort of expectations and social norms that are, you know, from 300-400 years ago. And so I feel like when I go see classical ballet that I can't relate to it because it's not speaking to the world that I'm in. It's not the art form itself, it's the expression of it.
And sometimes the culture at the ballet.
Yeah, and even within the like context of going to those shows, it's like, you know, like I love going to the ballet or to the opera with Christian because he puts on a pair of high heels and something really flowy, and like everyone loves it. It's like he's half the performance. I mean, honestly, it's like
these older women patrons. Like, it's so amazing to see. Like, they come up to me and they're like, "This is what we want to see on stage. Like, we want." And what they mean by that is like, we want to see like something different and interesting and exciting, and also like real. And I'm not saying that isn't happening with classical, but like I think when you see someone just really like being themselves and owning it and like feeling free, like, and it being like different and exciting, people actually want want that. Like, because I found when I talked to a lot of more classical, like, choreographers, or like when you talk to some directors, like people are afraid of kind of stepping outside of that box because and what they say is like, will our patrons that are paying, like our older patrons, will they be interested? Yeah. And I think they would. They are. Like, it's just like, how do you tap into that kind of, because ballet culture and money is like how that works is it's a very specific kind of culture.
Right. Well, I imagine like looking at the pattern of how it's developed over the years, and you look at who's coming to actually buy those tickets, because it's hard to create the art when nobody's buying the tickets, because you can see that like happening right now in like the film industry, for example. The big budget films used to be a little bit more experimental. You'd have like the auteur director, who would create like a specific style that would stand out. And like little by little, more and more, you'll see more of those big summer films that are over and over the same movie, because executives are scared to take risks. And you need to get that funding, and you need to make that money in order to make the smaller art house film. So this kind of like division keeps happening, where you have like the big budget mainstream film that's over and over the same shit, and then like the smaller art house stuff that'll get more creative, and they have to get more creative about how they can make that happen. So I would imagine a similar thing happens in any art style.
Totally the same. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's like Swan Lake and the Nutcracker pay for the experimental new works that happen in a black box theater. Yeah.
And so much of it is like, now we call it selfie culture. Like you want to go so you can take a selfie and you can show people that you did this thing and look at how fucking cultured I am. Yeah. But like that same shit exists with, for lack of a better description, the highbrow audience that wants to be able to show off, like, look at how elite we are.
Professional photographer.
Yeah.
And they're in 7x7 magazine.
I would never do a selfie. But I will pay the photographer to take a picture of me in my suit.
But take a picture of me.
Yeah. Look how elite we are. It's the same thing though. It's the same pattern over and over.
But it's an experience, and so the patrons who donate at a certain level and who go to these things regularly, oftentimes like this is the experience that they're looking for, and so they keep getting it, and so it keeps getting recycled, and so they're not bringing in a new audience because of that. And I really believe that especially classical music has to get really innovative right now, and has to be super flexible. And we don't need to like change classical music, like Rite of Spring the music is wonderful and beautiful as it is, and you can listen to it a million times and it'll just be fresh and exciting every single time. But we need to change the setting and to update things. So like there was, I don't know if it has happened multiple times or just once, but this thing called Rite of Spring Rave in New York, where the group was performing Rite of Spring, the orchestra was performing it, and then everyone was dancing. So instead of sitting, the audience gets to dance, and it's interactive, and that's what people want. People want to engage with the music. People want to interact in it in certain ways. And like there's a couple things that are kind of doing that now, especially in San Francisco. There are a couple of groups who like are really pushing that. Like my friend has an ensemble called Elevate Ensemble that does a lot of collaborations with mixed media and kind of like visual aspects. And yeah, there's I can't remember all the other ones.
No, it's true.
Sound is a conductorless orchestra that does kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think it can't be inflexible right now. Classical music is just going to die if it stays in the concert hall in the same context over and over.
Along with the audience. By the way, you guys are so good at not talking over each other.
Oh, thanks.
I get excited.
It's like you all have had media training, and this is all.
It's like the performers.
Yeah. Christian, what was it about Burning Man that was making you want to go so badly?
So, especially moving to, seeing images and seeing just just like the beauty out there, and also this it definitely looked like third world, and then it turns into like an alien world, and then starting hearing about it and hearing about the community, and hearing about like a lot of people always would talk about like, I go out there and I feel free, and I feel like I can like be any side of me, and I'm able to show more of me, and like that's also what I started like getting a little pissed off about from burners was like, why don't you come back? And why do you feel like, why don't you do this in your everyday?
Right.
Like, they're like, I love just dressing up. And I'm like, do it. You're in San Francisco. Like, wear whatever the fuck you want. But then I have to realize, like, I'm an artist, I'm a dancer, and also my, like, not giving a fuck, but, like, giving a big fuck, like, I care, like, is very different when you're in the tech world, when you're in a business, like, or whatever box that you're sadly, you know, like, that so society has put you in, it's hard to feel comfortable to be yourself or different or whatever, like, in the real world.
Yeah. You have to fit in to survive for a lot of people.
And I think, like, feeling that, but then once you feel that freedom at Burning Man, and you feel, and also this connection with people around you, like, being in a society where it's not about what I want, it's really about giving and sharing, and then feeling the power of that, feeling like the power of, like, what that feels like, I think is all part of of feeling comfortable, and feeling free.
Did your first burn live up to everything you were expecting?
Oh yeah. I quit my dance job to go to the burn. Yeah. Like
usually people quit shit after.
I was like, you know what? I mean, there were different things I wanted to, and I was like, this is what I want to do. So, like, the more of the artist hustle, I've always been able to, like, pay with dance, like, maybe pay rent, but then, like, the San Francisco hustle after, like, not being in, like, a big company, like, but it also gave me, like, I came back and, like, I mean, I put my money where my mouth is and not turn into, like, oh, I feel so free there. I was like, no, I can do it and really be that. And if I can do that and show that, then other people will react. And it's just this, like, and I really, like, my community and my brothers and sisters and of, like, that I'm meeting through the burner community, and especially, like, through Glamcox, has been this really eye-opening, like, sense of family. And, like, when anything happens, like, they are the first people that will go out of their way to be selfless.
Yeah, I think that's been something that's really inspiring about seeing Christian after he came home. Well, first, after he came home from the burn, I was in, I think, Kansas City choreographing for the Kansas City Ballet, and his family lives close by, so he came out there to meet me, and he literally just was, like, in this strange daze for, like, days, just, like, looking at, like, tents online. I was like, what about this tent? I was like, we can get a tent sometime, okay.
Afterwards?
Yeah, right afterwards.
I think he just wanted to live in our backyard. I mean, honestly.
And I immediately went to a hotel in Kansas City. So that kind of, like, it's like...
Sweetheart, do you want a shower maybe?
I know. It's like, maybe a shower? No, just the tent. Okay, that's fine.
Whatever you need right now.
Exactly.
Well, and
it was
here's some 5-HTP.
Exactly. Well, it was really awesome, though, seeing Christian, and like you said, I mean, Christian's never been one to, like, oppress his natural sense of expression, but it was really great to just see that sort of unlocking that happened after he went to the burn, and just where people will always ask me, it's like, what's the occasion for Christian's outfit? And I was like, oh, it's Tuesday. I mean, you know, and I think that, like, I'm always so inspired by Christian because he really does just live every day sort of being himself in that. And that's what I love. You know, however much of that we're able to take home from the burn, we all are in our different situations. But, like, that sense of community that is built, that sort of feeling that, like, I mean, that to me was what stuck with me when my first burn, and why I kept wanting to go back, was, like, that just openness, no matter who it was, a complete stranger you could go up to and feel completely safe with and open. And I understand the reasons why we can't always be like that in our, like, in the default world, but at the same time, like, if we can just take, like, little pieces of that and bring in that sense of, like, freedom of expression and connection with the people around us, like, then Burning Man has done us well. And to be able to kind of bring that back into our everyday lives is so important.
That what you're describing was exactly what hit me the hardest after my first post-burn blues was eye contact.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I am a 6'5" brown person, so like it's I remember walking around on Playa, like everybody you look at immediately makes like deep eye contact. And then walking around a normal world, like, yeah, I get it. Like people, they don't know. They're like, what do you want? You're trying to sell me something? You're trying to fuck me? Like, what do you want? Like right now, I just want to be left alone.
Yeah.
Which like, I get it. I have compassion for it, but like that was what.
And like touch, I mean, hugging and like just like how, and I think we're lucky to be dancers, how physical we are, well, with ourselves and then with other people around us. And I think out there, because it's so, well, and the community, it's like there's, you feel okay with like going up and being close to somebody or like really just always introducing and hugging. And, and when you're working in an office or at a desk or whatever, like you don't get the opportunity to like touch people. And sometimes like just human physical touch is, I mean, it's so important. And like and I think especially being men, actually, like how hard it is to, I mean, we are gay men and like, so we've been able to...
Wait, what?
Only on the weekend. Sorry.
So like, it's... So like, the more, and so I haven't had the opportunity to actually like make close, I always went to art schools and like actually make close friendships with straight men and hearing straight male... I know I'm getting into this, but like hearing like the, I know, like, but hearing like kind of the issues around, and also feeling this, like there is a certain kind of hard kind of like shell of like, if you're like compassionate or like loving or hugging, like it's actually like really hard to like grow up and like be affectionate with with male on male, like, cause then all of a sudden you're gay or all of a sudden. So like, I feel like that lack in the male world and that bond really plays hard, like it's not good for men and then society, and then it like builds into this like hard shell.
Yeah, no. I just that so completely has been a huge part of my personal journey. I'll tell you, as the straight guy in the room, like I've always been very physically affectionate. I've always been very comfortable with physical affection, and I always had lots of gay friends too. I live. I don't know how familiar you guys are with San Diego, but like Hillcrest is like, I don't know, our
Castro.
Yeah, it's our Castro.
Okay.
So I mean, that was very much, my normal stomping grounds. But my own immediate circle of friends, I mean, obviously we're all comfortable, but when anybody outside our immediate circle would see how affectionate I was with my friends, they'd be like, oh, he's just gay. He just hasn't like admitted it to himself. And then like you get into that game. And then you're like, all right, well, this is not, I don't think this is helping anybody.
or I'm guessing like male, female, it's like, oh, this male just this guy just wants to sleep with me.
I was going to say
like,
that's something that's so nice about like talking about like touch in a general sense at the burn is like in our society, touch is immediately equated with sex. Like we don't like, and that is not, doesn't need to be true. Like there are so many forms of connection and expression, and touching someone doesn't immediately have to mean that you want to sleep with that person. Right. It can actually just be a way of connecting with them in a physical manner to express how you feel on the inside. And that can just be a friendship. It can be love. It can be any and all of those things. And I think that was something else that I love from Burning Man that I really want to like keep is like, I don't need to like limit or like specify the way that I connect with people based purely on sexual like intentions.
I mean, I can tell you that in the past couple of years I've gone further and further down that particular rabbit hole. And just like getting more, no pun intended, getting more comfortable with just like, okay, I had a friend, for example, who was looking at potentially going, and then she was kind of dancing back and forth about it. And the conversation came up about like this other sober camp that she could camp with, because that's what she was scared of, is that she wanted to stay sober. I was like, all right, well, I have this these two friends that you could totally camp with, and they'll take care of you and show you around. And she was like, okay, where are they? Are they going to want to fuck me? Like she was thinking it's something like a polyamory type thing. And I was like, maybe. But I mean, like, even then, so what? Like, they're not going to pass a certain line if that's. It doesn't mean that just because you're sexually attracted to somebody, you're not allowed to go back to anything remotely platonic, because now you've broken whatever that mold is.
But that's what we get so much as women, that was kind of hard for me. Coming back from the burn was shifting back to that, because at the burn, like, we touch and we hug, and sometimes you like cuddle affectionately with someone and it's no big deal. Right. And then kind of as you transition back into the default world, like I almost forgot that for other people that's that leads to other things.
Yeah.
So that was kind of an issue for me at first, is that like suddenly I found that things that I thought were platonic were suddenly were turning the other way, and I was like, shit, like this is what happens in the default world.
Yeah.
So like,
and I think that was really healing for me as a gay man, and looking a certain way, and how culturally, and I think this can be compared to women and being a female and sexualized, and like, and it felt really good to finally be like, oh my God, like I can be like, you're not wanting something from me. Like, actually, we can just be physical and hug and dance all night and make out. And then it's like,
right.
You're not like, I don't have to like back up because I know that you now think I'm going to sleep with you.
Yeah.
Like that kind of viewpoint. And then you feel free to express all kinds of your sexuality, your sensuality, and like, and having the camp that I'm in, the Glamcocks, like, it really, like, that was like I think my first year of like this healing that I had to do as a gay man, of like, I always felt like if I'm open, then I'm giving off this vibe, and then someone's going to expect something and then take it.
Right. Now, I can tell you, even again, as a straight guy, I recently had that experience where we were out with like a group of people, we're having fun, and then I ended up in a play situation with a girl. We were kind of making out. I had no intention of going anywhere further than that, but then like the rest of the night, it was just like she's not letting me go. And I'm like, oh, now I'm starting to feel like I kind of regret. But it's because I'd forgotten. Oh, that's right. We weren't in the same circles as we normally were. I'm so used to being around our friends in our community that little by little that happened. So,
but also I've had to remind, like, and we do this at the Burn, and I have these conversations, and like you have to like recalibrate. I want to like, I point out always like just because I am telling you no right now doesn't mean I don't think you're hot. Doesn't mean that you're less. And I think that's the biggest thing, is we all of our like egos, like we feel bad. It's like, oh, I'm unwanted. Like if someone turns you down, then it's about, and if you're okay or able to just be like, it's not about me physically or emotionally. It's just like right now, like this is just no. Like it has nothing to do with me. It doesn't mean I'm not sexy or hot, whatever. It's just like,
yeah, removing the validation from like sexuality, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't need to, and it's like that's again part of just our culture. It's like you're validated by people thinking that you're attractive or wanting to have sex with you, and it's like, how can we like take that, like if someone says yes or no, like that doesn't change who you are and your worth. Value.
Yeah, and I feel like half of the reason that a lot of straight males pursue females is just to be validated. But at Burning Man, like I have found personally that boundaries are a little bit more respected, and maybe it's because we're cultivating this kind of culture of consent, hopefully. And,
trying.
not in every situation, certainly, but I really feel like it's a little bit of a safer space, and also because everything is so temporary out there that you don't have to hang on to someone for a whole night or something.
Right.
You can make out with someone and then be gone and meet 50 other people. No problem. So I feel much more comfortable at Burning Man, personally.
Interesting.
Yeah. So find Courtney at Burning Man and make out with her.
Yeah.
So,
Yay! Consent.
Consensually. If I'm into it.
Yeah, exactly.
So this whole project's been going on for 6 months.
About 6 months. Yeah.
It seems so much bigger.
Oh,
by
thanks.
the way. It seems
Courtney's
like it's
killing it.
so
Courtney has literally, I can't believe the number of emails, and every time a dancer or a musician or an artist, she's so on top of it and has really like made this all happen. And it's been a joy and a gift to work with her.
How did you guys like find the dancers and the?
Some of the dancers, it was interesting.
You were describing this earlier. You got a few different.
Yeah, a couple of the dancers that I work with at Post Ballet had already planned on going to the Burn. So that was kind of serendipitous. I was like, "Great, you're going to the Burn. Do you want to be in this too?" So that kind of worked out really well. And then we put an open call out for musicians and dancers.
Yeah, we put a blurb in the Jackrabbit Speaks and got a big response from that. That was great. But unfortunately, a lot of the people were really, really excited about it, but then we're not coming from the Bay Area. And so we're really trying to get musicians and dancers who are able to attend rehearsals in the Bay Area before we go.
How many rehearsals?
So the dancers are rehearsing for 2 days, the orchestra is rehearsing for 2 days, and then we're rehearsing together on the second day of the orchestra.
How many people in the orchestra?
It changes. Roughly like 35. Some days it's 36, some days it's 34.
Yeah.
Just because, you know, people
like my ex-girlfriend's age.
Yeah, there's this or there's that, and people are still signing on, but it's looking like it'll be around 35 musicians, and some of them are virgins. We're bringing some people who are coming specifically for this project. We haven't twisted anyone's arm. Like, everybody has heard of Burning Man, wanted to go to Burning Man for years, and then they heard about the project and they're like, fuck yeah, I'm going. So again, that's part of the gifting, because otherwise we'd have to pay all these people. But everybody is really, really enthused about it. Our conductor, Brad, and his wife Jeannie, who's a clarinet player, they're virgins, and I just absolutely struck gold in recruiting them because I went to grad school with them. They're both fabulous performers. Brad's a trumpet player and studied conducting. I'd never seen him conduct. In school, I only knew him as a trumpet player, but he has been doing really, really well for himself since school and was conducting at SOTA, which is the School of the Arts in San Francisco, which is like a really big, awesome school, and then SF State. And this is like just a couple years out of grad school, like very impressive. Yeah. And Jeannie's a fabulous clarinet player, plays with the Reno, I think it's the Reno Philharmonic and Berkeley Symphony, and just kind of all over the place with the Freeway Philharmonic, we call it. Yeah.
Reno, so she's comfortable with the area.
Yeah. And she's recruited some musicians out of Reno too.
Wow.
But they're fabulous, and I hadn't talked to them for a couple years since school, but I realized that they were two musicians, and he was a conductor, and we needed a conductor. And actually, my dad and my stepmom suggested that I reach out to them because my dad is an amateur musician, plays in the East Bay with this group. I think it's the Contra Costa Wind Ensemble that Brad has conducted, Brad does conduct. And so they like think it's so cool that I know Brad, and then I'm like friends with Brad, and they're like, oh my gosh, like you should get Brad.
All the little connections.
They think he's like a celebrity.
It's been fun because like there was an article in the paper a few days ago about this like project that we're in, and so like even in the last couple of days, like a couple dancers have like come to my class or like have, you know, Facebook messaged me and like, is it too late for me to be a part of it? And I'm like, you just made it. Like,
how many dancers?
I think we're at, I think with like between the fire spinners, contortionist, aerialist, classically trained dancers, contemporary ensemble of dance, I think we're at like 45, 50. I mean, it's like a big, including and the Glamcocks. So the Glamcocks are grunions. Now, there are males that will, together with Christian, come in and we have some, like, the chosen ones. And come all over the beach and die. Which is one of, you know, the Glamcock's most important rituals of the year. Fear not. Called Marshall Beach.
Well, you come and you just live in the desert, and then you die. You know,
and then you die on the way home.
It's a lot of work. I mean, so there's two rehearsals, but then they're like, I mean, me and Rachel and Jackie, like, we're doing something, like, we've been rehearsing. Like, it's not actually just going to be 2 days of rehearsal, but it's, like, all together. Everyone's going to be there. Like, everyone's rehearsing at their own times, of course. I mean, like, to do, like, the score.
A rehearsal with the stilt walker, a rehearsal with the contortionist, a rehearsal with... And then we just kind of bring it all together.
The major, big...
For magic.
And we're probably going to do one little orchestra rehearsal on the playa. That's still kind of, like, being discussed right now. And maybe, like, little sectionals on the playa as well. Because we have a couple players who... are not able to come to San Francisco, but we really want them involved. So they're going to be, we're trying to be radically inclusive. So they're gonna probably rehearse with us on the playa before we wing it. And
it'll be a big. I'm going to give a big motivational speech to dancer. Well, no, I mean, like, you need a speech, and like, no, like, if you've never performed on the playa, like, and it's something like intricate, like, the mindset of like, because I'm when Robert first went, he was telling me that he was performing the whole week, so he said he wasn't really able to like be at the Burn. Like you were like,
right. I went and had so many shows where I was constantly like, oh, Tuesday at 10 p.m. I gotta have a show, Wednesday at 4 a.m. Like, and it was just sort of like, which I think is there's something so nice about the Burn, just being able to like kind of turn the time off and not be like beholden to it.
That's why I didn't perform for my first
right. So and that's why like for people that are going
you did
for
it correctly.
I was like, don't.
Yeah. So like for virgins and non-virgins alike, like I mean for the virgin it's like, you know, like the show's Wednesday, like yes you have a lot to do, you know, really just pace yourself, feel free, and like don't like stifle yourself, but like this is a show, you know. And then people that haven't performed, you need to be like, okay, so this is kind of your way at the Burn, like this is important, like you got to be there at this time, like there's no like, oh my god, the sun, and like you can't just like run no, like, and that's like a big thing.
We're gonna work hard and then play hard.
Do whatever.
After parties,
work hard, play hard.
After parties planned. Wednesday night party.
What are there any like physical challenges that you're having to prepare for as dancers and musicians that you just know from experience going to Burning Man that are going to be different than obviously sitting in an air-conditioned studio?
So many.
What are they?
I actually haven't thought about this yet, but no, not thought about. Well, like feet, like shoes.
Like, is that going to get slipperier?
Footwear.
How's that traction?
I'm like thinking about this because like I don't want to wear ballet shoes. I might go barefoot, and going barefoot, and I never go barefoot. It's just you gotta like at the end of that 30 minutes out barefoot. Vinegar. So I might.
You'll be fine.
Be barefoot. Yeah, I think like, you know, like just be barefoot. And I never thought about this, but I think I'm gotta just be barefoot.
I would say some of the times that I've performed in the past there, you know, things that like I could do a certain like piece of choreography pretty easily, like not, I was like, oh, this will be a good one to bring. It's not too, it's so much more exhausting just because the like reality of the environment, you know, like the like temperature and the like moisture in the air.
The environment's sucking you dry.
You get so tired. So that'll be something definitely we want to like make sure that the artists are all like hydrated, lots of like, you know, snacks and just able to...
For the listeners, I mean, majority of listeners have been out to the Playa.
Sure.
Like, I mean, it is an environment that is doing everything in its power to tell you to leave.
Don't stay.
And like every other living thing was like, fuck this place. And then humans are like, let's go out there and do acting.
I think that's why it works. Right?
We're at the top of the food chain.
Because it's so extreme and it calls extreme people. You know, we're extreme people and we're bringing an extremely complex, totally extreme ballet. So I think it's perfect. But to your question about like considerations for the musicians, like we can't bring our good instruments because it'll wreck them probably. I don't know. I haven't brought a flute out yet, but we're going to be
a bitch to clean.
We're going to be using beater instruments. We're hopefully, like if the wind acts up, I can't physically play the flute because my air goes down because I don't put my mouth directly over the flute, right? So that there's a gap between my face and the air hole. So if the wind blows,
oh my god, should we make you a guard? No, we just have to make you...
I might just pull my face mask up and see if that works.
I think this is costuming things. Like let's figure out like a guard, like a shield.
That'd be cool. Okay.
Okay. Is there a plan for what happens if a whiteout happens?
We wait it
Everybody's
out.
just going to stop playing? And
So yeah, I guess that's something we do need to talk about. Like what if it's halfway through?
Well, so... Yeah, I think we have to
keep
stop.
dancing.
Then we just be like,
guys, you missed it, but it happened. It happened. Don't worry. Shit. It was so cool. Bye.
You guys see it?
No, I think we have to wait it out. We'll probably... So
just
Brad,
wait,
our conductor, is kind of going to be in charge of all that stuff. Yeah. He's going to have... we're thinking like LED finger... gloves, so that people can see him in the dark.
He's going to be gloving up there?
Yeah. He'll be giving out light shows.
Totally.
Rolling. So he's going to be ready with that.
Can you guys at some point just bust into Sandstorm just for me?
Yeah.
That'll be our encore. If you clap loud enough, we'll have an encore.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
Actually, if it goes, you know what, that'd be hilarious.
That's a great idea.
If there is a whiteout, we'll start playing Sandstorm until it's over.
Yeah. Oh,
done.
But our music...
You heard it here first.
Our music is on stands, right? And if the wind blows, then the stand could blow over, or the music could blow off. So right now we're thinking like wind clips. Right. We're going to stake the stands to the ground so that they don't blow over.
Great.
We're hopefully going to have some volunteers in the orchestra do page turning. Mm-hmm. We're kind of trying to figure out if there's a better system or some kind of like giant wind clips or some kind of system to hold the sheet music in place. But yeah, we're taking all these things into consideration. Some of the instruments, like the flute, have issues playing in the wind. If it rains, we can't do anything more effect.
Yeah.
Well,
I know.
No. Well, I was gonna say, so for our wedding, we had all of these grand plans, and thank God none of them worked out.
Well, one of them, I mean, the setting, there was this art piece that year, a blossoming lotus and a Tesla coil and lightning, and then we met the people and they said, oh, we'll shut off the lightning when you say I do, and we were like, yeah. And that was going to be in D Playa, but it was that...
Well, yeah, it was all of these sources, the art card that was supposed to take our party out, they ran out of gas, and as happens, apparently you need gas, who knows. Mm-hmm. But, and then, so we all were going to we can't make it out that far, so we ended up, we'll just bike to the temple, because that's somewhere that everyone can find. And then there was this crazy sandstorm during the ceremony, and everyone just huddled in together and got so close. And you could feel the energy and the connection between everyone, and it was so intimate, and it just felt like every time our relationship gets tough, which rarely happens, but those two, but it's that sort of this thing that comes to mind sometimes is weathering that sandstorm, and it being no matter what, not only did we go forward, but it ended up being way more beautiful and magical. And the pictures with the sand cover, I mean, it's just gorgeous,
Yeah.
But I think that that's the reality of what we're doing is no matter how much planning we do, something's going to happen that's unexpected, and it probably will make it'll be that thing that makes it the most magical experience.
More special. Yeah, and everyone keeps saying there's, there could be dust storms or
Yeah.
And it's I know.
Yeah, it's just what it's...
We're doing it.
Just as if the music's playing, we'll just keep going. That's what the dancers, we'll just keep going until,
Yeah, and the Playa Pop Symphony is already out there, and they perform, and they're wonderful. Their conductor, Eric, who's aka Dr. Fire Tuba, has been really supportive and has been, we've been emailing back and forth, and he's given us a lot of tips and stuff, and he's you know that you're going to be facing this obstacle and this challenge and this could happen and stuff. And I'm yeah, I know. Yeah. He's okay, not to be a naysayer, because I will be there in the front row cheering you on. But we do need to take a lot of these things into consideration. But
it's going to be perfect.
We're the crazy ones who will do it.
Yeah.
So we're going to do it.
So it's going to be Wednesday in front of the Tree of Tenere.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, how'd you guys get connected with them?
Through Robot Heart, actually. Okay. So, and I got connected to Robot Heart through a friend at grad school who I hadn't seen in years, and then he just saw that I was posting asking about art cars. Yeah. And he was oh, I did sound on the Mayan Warrior Robot Heart collaboration. And I know some of the Robot Heart dudes, I'll talk to them. And they were totally on board. It was just the most exciting thing for me. It blew my mind. I was jumping up and down on the couch when I heard that they were down. And then a couple days later, they emailed us and said, hey, we just were talking with this Tree of Tenere thing, and they are looking for
We're talking to a tree.
We're talking to this tree. Yeah, and they're looking for performances. And they're this seems like a no-brainer. I was yeah, that would be a really cool place, and the tree people pointed out that in the original Rite of Spring, the background, the set, there was a tree. They actually put a large tree in the middle, and we're well, that's kind of perfect.
That's cool, yeah.
So it's going to be programmed to light up. It's sound sensitive, but it's programmed with a specific light show for us, for our performance. and it will probably, hopefully,
I like those odds.
Yeah.
if all works out correctly, which we think it will, it will be lighting up like as the pounding starts.
Yeah.
And we'll just
It's usually when I light up.
spring to life.
Yeah. And we're trying to time it out so
Yeah.
the sun's setting, and then it'll go into complete darkness, and like so we're trying to,
The tree springs to life.
When I tell
Yeah.
people that don't know what Burning Man is, that I'm making a new rite of spring with a 4-story tall like steel tree that has LED lights that are being choreographed to the score with a full orchestra and a 50-piece performance ensemble, including fire spinners. They're like, what planet are you going to? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's Burning Man. Oh.
I have absolutely entertained the idea that it's possible that every year, what I'm actually doing when I go out to Burning Man is I'm taking a pill and I'm having this crazy trip, and then I'm coming out of the trip thinking that all this stuff actually happened, but in reality it was all just a hallucination.
I wish we could take
may
that
be
pill
true.
more often. Let's take it every day.
it's
What time is the performance?
Roughly, I think
Roughly 7:30.
We're gonna,
Yes.
just
You
get
know
there.
it.
Get there as the sun is starting to fade,
Yeah.
because we're gonna try to time it perfectly. It'll be tricky.
Always is.
and are we still looking for more animal art cars?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
That's a good call for that.
So we're thinking that, so our audience, of course, will be kind of standing, sitting. However, we don't have like risers or anything, but if art cars, particularly animal themed art cars, because we think it'd be cool to have a little menagerie, want to come and let the audience come sit on them, climb on them, it would be a great way for our audience to watch the Rite of Spring. So we would love to have more art cars come, even if it's not animals, like
Really,
all of
anybody.
them.
Yeah.
All of them.
Sorry, when you described the risers, I thought about that one art car that's like, it's basically risers and it's a bunch of people sitting there spectating.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
Yes.
So I
They should come too.
Yeah, I
that would be
thought
so
like,
perfect, yeah.
like some random person in the audience, like, no spectators, and he runs out in the middle and starts dancing with you.
Throws popcorn out.
This is awful.
And also we think that if there is a way to have like a circle of art cars, it could block some wind, the sound, it would be, and also like, what the fuck's happening around that tree? Like, it could be a really awesome visual, like adding another visual element to this already crazy.
Well, then another thing that I need some volunteers for, if people are willing to, is that we want to have like a plier protector crew, which people... They'll also kind of be sorry. No more work for you. But body
I'm going home.
We're going to be covering everyone in body paint. And so the player protectors will also be painted, and then they'll have kind of like riot shields so that they can protect the orchestra. And if the wind kicks up, then they can go kind of in front of them to shield them just a little bit from the wind. It's not going to be perfect, but ideally we would have like a giant shield around us, but the wind could knock that over. It's just, there's no way around it. So I'm trying to get people to do that. And then if anybody wants to volunteer as like page turners or helping with the setting up of, chairs, unloading, packing up, loading, everything, we love volunteers.
How should they contact you if they want to do that?
So they can email me at theplayaplayers@gmail.com.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. I have all kinds of shifts signed up for on Wednesday, but I'm looking to get the fuck out of them and come see this. And join in the after party.
Yes.
That's the primary reason I do anything. All right, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you so much
Thank
for having
you.
us.
Guys, thank you for the interview. It's like, thank you for how much work you're doing in order to bring us this amazing experience. Thank you. I mean, I always do this at the end of the show, but thank you guys for how much work you're doing for everyone, for all of us, for Burning Man, for the community, for everyone who's being involved with it, all the different growth experiences that they're going to be getting out of it, the magic that's going to come out of this that we might not even see during the performance that's already happening behind the scenes, the relationships that are building out of it. It's phenomenal. What you're doing is no small feat, and all of this wouldn't exist if it wasn't for you crazy people.
And thank you for doing the podcast.
I know. Thank you.
so much.
We love it.
Thank you.
And we met in LA, so
Yeah.
we obviously do
Yeah.
like LA.
Yeah.
So we're all here.
No, I talk a lot of shit, but I do like coming up here.
You're okay down there.
I'm looking outside the window.
I know, I'm like, and it's warm, and the fog, there's no fog outside.
It's so nice to not see fog.
Yeah, it literally looks like something out of a movie outside our window right now. So.
I think they are actually filming a movie.
They might be. They might be.
We might be in a movie and not know it. Oh, shit.
Hallucination. Thank you.
God, this is
Thank
awesome.
you.
I'm hungry. All right. Well, please give us a like on Facebook and join our Facebook group. I'd love to see some more discussions happening in there. And please leave us a review on iTunes. It does help get the show some more visibility so more of our tribe can be a part of this conversation. All of the links to those things are at burnerpodcast.com, or you can search Burner Podcast on Facebook and stuff. You can connect with me on all the social medias at Mr. Arash. That's MRARASH. I am most active on Facebook and Instagram, but you can tweet me and stuff too. Burner Podcast is released on the first and third Wednesdays of the month and is available on Stitcher, iTunes, Spreaker, iHeart Radio, TuneIn Radio, among others. The show is not hard to find. The Burner Podcast team includes, but is not limited to, associate producer Denise Lozano and Tori Massey, network music editor Navjit Sarna. We thank you, dear listeners, for all of your support. You're part of the team. We do think about you every time we make these shows and these events and all this crap that we could put out. Our opening theme music, America's Horse with No Name remix, is produced by Joman. Check out his music over at soundcloud.com/DJ Joman. So until next time, love and light and none other crap. Good night.